Ready to go?
We are ready, so we're rolling.
Cool. Kevin, thank you for joining the podcast.
Yeah.
Looking forward to talking about kids making it.
Same.
Yeah. So let's can you start off and tell us what Kids Making It is and what the mission and vision of the organization is?
Yeah, we're an after-school youth nonprofit. So we serve kids every day, every weekday. We're focused on, ultimately, we want to keep kids in school, keep them out of trouble, and then help connect them to college or the workforce, whatever comes after. We serve kids 7 to 18 years old, and our big focus is on serving kids who are facing barriers to success, especially long-term barriers to success.
Yep.
Yeah.
How long has the organization been around?
So it was 1994, that Jimmy, our founder, first taught a student how to do woodworking. Just to give you a little more background on that, he was a lawyer by trade, found that he was doing really well professionally, but wasn't feeling personally fulfilled. He had always been a woodworker by trade or by hobby.
Yeah.
And anyway, long story short, somebody said, hey, there's this teen I know, and he's in the foster care system. He might benefit from working on, doing woodworking stuff. And Jimmy said, well, bring him over. I'll help him out. I've got my garage wood shop set up. And anyway, the kid really enjoyed it. Jimmy really found it fulfilling. And they ended up doing duck calls or duck blinds. And another guy had promised to buy all the ones that the kid made.
Oh, cool.
So worked out really well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so from there until, to where we are now, it's almost 30 years?
Yeah. Hard to believe. Yeah, and it's a testament to Jimmy's, a lot of people have good ideas, but to follow through and to leave a very stable, successful career to try and do something. I mean, I don't know in 94 how many programs like ours existed, and there aren't that many today. So it's just really neat that he was able to have that persistence and perseverance to make it happen. And so now by today, we've served, I think we did the math, over 25,000 kids. And
oh my gosh.
Every year. So that was one kid he was serving, and that's how it all starts. And then now we've served usually around 950 kids a year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so you guys you have a location on Castle Street.
Mm-hmm.
And how long have you guys been in that location now?
We've been there since about 2016.
Okay.
We moved into the space. It's been a lot of different things. At one point it was a community meeting space or gathering space, then it was a thrift store, but we renovated the space for our purposes. And then in I think 2019 was when we built out our new skilled trade space, which is another 2-story addition to the side of it.
Right.
So I hate that we got rid of some parking in Wilmington, but it was good. Good trade-off, I think. Yeah.
Well, when I got to come out 2 weeks ago to take the tour and see, it's the space that you guys have created is really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really amazing, and I feel lucky to kind of have inherited it. Jimmy did the capital campaign and all that, and it's just great. We've been able to do a lot of good for the kids with that space.
And walking around, like every single person in there was like, smiled and just had like such a positive, such a positive characteristic to all of them. And I just felt very welcome. And it's just a really neat feel in space.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. That's absolutely our goal with our kids. So if you're picking up on it, they say the kids are even more intuitive than adults. So that's our goal, is that when the kids come in, it doesn't matter what kind of day we're having as individuals, we'll bring in our 100% best for the kids. And, we want that when a kid comes into the building, not only do they feel welcome, but they feel valued and they feel like they matter, because sadly, so many of our kids don't feel that. And especially what people don't realize is the kids that seem toughest, the kids that if you're like, oh man, I don't want to mess with that kid, they're the ones that are more scared than anyone else. Eventually over time we can build trust with them, and you'd be amazed, the kids that, especially young men that seem like, they've got it all together, they've got this mask on, this really intense persona. It's just to protect themselves. They feel like if they don't do that, they'll be taken advantage of or hurt. And we've had those same young men break down in tears. They're scared, they feel hopeless, but that's where we come in, try and turn all that around. So it's rewarding, but it can be tough.
So what is it about the woodworking that help support the mission and vision of keeping kids in school, getting them to college?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I'll be the first to admit, I did not come from a woodworking background. I joke that I'm the worst woodworker in the building. But there's just so many life lessons that and metaphors that come out of woodworking.
Yeah.
You know, we find that the main one really is just that you have control of things even when things go wrong. You know, you can adapt, you can be flexible. The kids are able to earn money, which is a really neat aspect of what we do. So, you know, I mentioned this in the past to people. It's one thing to tell kids, don't get into trouble, don't do stupid things, you know, stay out of trouble. But if you don't give them a good, positive alternative, you know, it's going to be harder for them to achieve that. And so we're able to say, for example, don't deal drugs, don't get into crime, stay out of gangs. We can help you get paid. You know, you work hard, you make amazing projects, you sell them in our gift shop, you get 100% of the profit. So you know, that's not necessarily unique to woodworking, but it's a unique part of our model.
Yep.
And then unique to woodworking, like I said, the adaptability. If a project gets messed up, part of it is just helping them realize some of it's in your control, some of it's not. Mm-hmm. You could be the best woodworker in the world. You hit a knot, the thing's gonna crack, you know, fracture, whatever.
Yeah.
Then you just pivot. You know, make a pen into a keychain, make a cutting board into a whatever, coasters or something. So that's really a neat aspect of it. And the other thing that comes along with woodworking is that the kids are working side by side with our team. So there's a lot of mentorship and coaching that happens. And the kids open up in really unique ways when you're working side by side. I mean, it's not unlike if you walk alongside someone, it seems like it's a more organic conversation because you're not feeling the same face-to-face pressure. And the kids definitely feel that. So if we were to sit, you know, like you and I are across from one another, the kids aren't going to open up in the same way. But if you're like, hey, what do you think about this? And there's almost like a distraction element. We kind of joke that we sneak in the mentorship component because the kids are just focused on their project, but we use those opportunities to say, how was your day? And then they say, oh, it was okay. And we're like, no, really, how was your day? You know, we're not just asking, we care, we want to know, we want to find out what we can do to make your day better. So there's a whole list of things, but those are just some of the examples.
Yeah, it's interesting how you can build trust through like a vehicle like woodworking. Like, hey, we're here to, you know, learn how to, you know, learn a skill or, you know, do something fun. You start to build a relationship, and then it's like, you know, offhand comments. Yeah. Like, you know, some of the stories you were telling me when I came to visit, I mean, like literally I was like, I thought I was having a bad day. And then it just totally put things in perspective of what some of these kids go through and what they see and at the age that they're seeing it. Yeah. And, you know, it's just, and the fact that like literally to get from my office on 7th from Market Street to Castle Street, I drove through like the exact areas that you were talking about where some of these situations happened. And I'm like, man, I drove through today. It looked fine. Yeah, yeah. But tell me if you can, like, tell us, you know, some of the stories of, you know, some of the situations that these kids are dealing with, and just to give a perspective on what's going on. Yeah,
I'm glad you asked about it because I feel like, and again, I was not really aware of all the challenges. Yeah, I went to UNCW. You know, going to UNCW is already kind of insulating because you're just within the, you know, whatever's around the university. But now that I've lived here for 15 years and worked in youth development for I think 13 or 14 years now, you know, I started to get more and more of a glimpse into how much of a struggle and how difficult the lives of the kids we serve can be, and it's through no fault of theirs. You know, it's just they're in incredibly challenging circumstances. You've got intergenerational poverty. You've got all these different, you know, compiling effects. So just to mention a couple things, in many of the public housing communities, a lot of the kids are living in homes where they got blackout curtains 24/7. That's not because they don't want the light. It's because of safety. You know, you don't want to have somebody maybe peeking in or just seeing someone's home. And so then, you know, and then the kids aren't allowed to play outside for the same reason. I mean, we went on a outreach project into one of the communities, and it was kind of to your point. It was in the public housing community, but it was like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. not exactly when people think of the prime high risk time.
Yeah.
And we pulled up in our van, we started unloading, got set up, started cutting wood. Kids were having a blast. Then shots rang out, and the kids were up until about 10 or 11. The kids were freaking out. We, luckily our staff were, I don't want to say used to it, but knew how to stay calm. Got the kids into safety, got them in the building.
Yeah.
But around 12 and older, the kids were just walking home like, all right, I'll catch you guys later. I mean, there's just
a normal day.
Completely desensitized to that, and that's not a good thing. You know, it's good in a sense that they're not as stressed as the younger kids, but it's just because they're hiding it, they're internalizing it, they're still having that flight or fight reflex. They're just better at hiding it, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that happens. We've had kids just on a walk, to your point, walking just up by MLK Center, right up. I guess it would be 8th Street.
Yeah.
And one of our students, 14 years old, Wednesday afternoon, right after getting out of New Hanover High, walks to our building. On the way, another kid from school came up with a group of his friends, pulled out his backpack, pulled out a gun, said, "This is for your brother tomorrow. I'm going to kill him, and then the next day I'm coming for you." And it's just crazy. So that happened. About 15 minutes later, he was in our building, trying to balance extreme rage with extreme fear.
Yeah.
And we happened to overhear him call his older brother and ask if he still had his gun, whether he could bring it the next day. I'm glad we overheard it because we got involved. And in that situation, it wasn't just like, we'll make some calls. I mean, I was making calls with our staff until like 10 p.m. to make sure that night we had somebody going to the other kid's home to squash it, to make sure that nothing happened. And nothing did happen. But it's just that quick that something can happen. And I've heard it mentioned too that it used to be that if two kids got into it, they'd be fighting, fist fight.
Yeah, you live another day, right?
Yeah, it's not good, but it's fist fighting. And now the stakes are just so much higher because of guns that get in the wrong hands. And a lot of people don't realize the main way that kids get guns now is breaking into cars and getting guns out of glove boxes and stuff like that. So, it's just, the stakes are much, much higher than people realize, and the risk is so much higher than people realize. Here in Wilmington, it's so easy to your point, you just drive a couple blocks and it's a completely different situation.
Yeah.
And we had another kid, so just in the last week, he told us he's been shot at 4 times, and he wasn't the target, because a lot of people would be like, "Oh, what was he doing?" Yeah. That wasn't the issue. He was just in his neighborhood, happened to be kind of in the background while shots rang out. And it's, he didn't mention it to brag or say like, "Oh, this is crazy." It was like a passing comment. He was talking about something completely different, and he just happened to mention that happened. So that's a big part of why we do what we do. We want to work with the kids who are most in need. I've told the team that I'd like us to be working with the kids that no one else will work with, because there's so many kids that they're going through so much stuff, and they can be really challenging to work with. Their behavior can be difficult, to say the least, but it's because they're trying to process insane amounts of trauma, abuse, or whatever, just stress that kids are not meant to be dealing with. And as the saying goes, hurt people. So, they're lashing out just because they don't know how to process what they're going through. And so I view it as, if we don't help them, who will? Yeah. Because there aren't many programs that will take the initiative to say, we know this is going to be a lot of work, but we want to work with the kids anyway. And because the reward is so much more fulfilling, and it makes a big difference in that kid's life, and the ripple effect too. I mean, to think, like I've told the team, if we break one cycle of intergenerational poverty and trauma and challenge and all that, that ripple effect is just huge. It's incalculable, and it kind of changes the whole trajectory of not only that child, but their kids and their kids' kids and all that. So it's hard work, but our team is constantly training to make sure that we're doing the best we can to be trauma informed, and to understand that we don't know, that our kids know their needs better than anyone else. A lot of adults tend to assume that they know what kids need, and especially when you're working with kids who are going through stuff you've never dealt with.
Exactly.
It just, yes, we know the right things to work towards, but we need to listen to the kids to find out what they need. And I mean,
apart from the obvious, the the stories about, the kids dealing with extreme violence and, a 14-year-old walking home from school and getting threatened. I think one of the things that really kind of stuck out to me the most was because it's something that I just take so much for granted, is the natural light that you guys have in the building.
Yeah.
And you were telling me, a lot of these kids live in a place where they have blackout curtains all the time. And, here, in, our office and my house, we're, trying to, open up as many windows and, and so tell me a little bit more about, some of the, you've got the woodworking stuff, but then you also have an area up top on the second floor where it's a place where the kids can come and hang out and read and other stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So I mentioned that we want to keep the kids in school, out of trouble, and connect them to college or the workforce.
Yep.
The way that we try to do that is multi-pronged, I guess you could say. One is the vocational skills, which is what everybody kind of knows about, which is the woodworking and more recently skilled trades, which has been exciting. So electrical, plumbing, construction, carpentry.
Yep.
But we're more than a woodworking program. I've joked that we need to make that our catchphrase because, part of what we're trying to do is raise awareness of the challenges our kids are facing and how we're trying to uniquely solve them, but also to let people know that we have evolved over the years and we're doing more and more and deepening our impact rather than trying to serve thousands of kids, which we could do in a year if we wanted to. We're trying to actually change lives. So that requires deep investment. So there's the vocational side. Then there's entrepreneurship, which I mentioned a little bit. So we're paying out, last I checked, last year was about $60,000 directly to teens. We're averaging $4,000 to $6,000 a month. Some of the kids are making $400 or $500 a month themselves.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's just a really special kind of validation to have. We tell them great job, we give them all the accolades, but to have them sell their project in our gift shop, have some total stranger pay money for something they made. There's no better way to tell a teen that they matter than to have that happen. So anyway, to get to answering your question, the third component, which we've really deeply invested in the last couple of years, is what we're calling our Foundations of Success. And that Foundations of Success program itself has multiple prongs to it. So that's all basically upstairs in that area I was sharing with you or showing you. Like you said, lots of natural light. So that's where we do tutoring. We're working with the kids. It's very individualized. So when a student starts with us, Lori, who's our amazing student programs coordinator, student support programs, she is a 30-year veteran in the school system. So she's been a school counselor for 30 years. She knows the school system in and out. No better person to make the call. So what happens is when a kid starts with us, she calls all their teachers, checks in with every single one of them. How is this student doing in school academically, and how are they doing behaviorally? What are their needs? And so that's a really deep level of involvement that yields really successful outcomes, most importantly for the kids. And so that space is used for that. We do tutoring. We customize the tutoring to whatever their needs are. If they're struggling in math and science, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on history. Whatever they're needing help with, we focus on that. We've got tutors that come in, volunteers and staff. We have guest speakers. We do financial literacy classes. We do field trips. Actually just posted on LinkedIn about that. So we have 40 field trips a year now. And I hadn't thought about it until recently, but that means that if a kid starts at 13 with us now, they'll have gone on 200 field trips by the time they're 18 with us. Oh my gosh. Which is just incredible.
So they could go on all 40 in 1 year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Every single one of them is free of charge, just like everything we do. They do have to earn their spot. They have to behave well, be respectful to our staff and to their peers, and work hard. But that's all it takes. And these are really unique trips. We went to NC Central University. We went to Cold Summit, which is a cold storage facility off of the port. LS3P for architecture, Monteith. We went to see Project Grace. So some of it's trades related, but we also did a ravioli making class with Little Olive, and they went to UNCW's culinary arts program and they learned how to make, I don't know what it was. It was amazing. I'm a terrible cook, but it was, they just opening their eyes to these experiences. In Oak Island, they went up on the Young Eagles program, so they flew up in single prop airplanes for free. I mean, it's just incredible. They're volunteers that have their planes and take the kids up. And I mean, what better way to have our kids zoom out than to literally fly over Oak Island and see that little 4 block by 4 block area that they think is the world, because it feels like it, is really just a fraction of what's out there, and there's so much opportunity. It doesn't mean there won't be challenges, but there's so much opportunity. So I think I've totally lost track of the question.
That's the whole point of this podcast.
That's the foundations of success, is really just a full wraparound, comprehensive support. Many people don't realize that the ratio average in New Hanover County is 333 kids to 1 for school counselors. So that means one school counselor is supposed to somehow juggle 333 kids, and you have parents that are involved, and then you have parents that are doing 4 jobs and struggling. And we are proud that for the kids we're able to serve, it's more like 2 to 1, 1 to 1.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Another thing, again, that really shocked me, because I take so much of this for granted, is, like you said, the 4 by 4 block that they think is the world. I mean, like, just to be able to get a kid, I mean, even down to from like where they are to like go to Carolina Beach or something, it could be a big deal. Yeah. And down to Southport, and I mean, it's just eye opening. Yeah.
Well, and to your point, we've had kids that haven't been to the ocean, which is surprising enough. Having been, if they're 14, 15 years old, but we've had kids that haven't even been to the river, and the river is not that far at all. But it's, it's kind of a matter of, for one thing, you think about Maslow's hierarchy. If you're hungry and you can't go outside because it's not safe and transportation isn't available, why would you, that's not going to be a priority, getting out to the river. So
no, exactly.
We want to try to help really broaden their horizons and show them what's possible, and encourage that self-confidence that makes them feel like they can accomplish a lot of things. I've actually been reading a lot about the concept of agency, meaning kind of like autonomy, your ability to control your own destiny in a sense. And don't get me wrong, it's easy for me to say from where I sit, but there is a lot of struggle and there are a lot of challenges our kids are facing, but we want them to know that if they focus on what they can control, they have more control than they realize, and that can really completely change the trajectory of their life. So it's not easy, but we want them to realize that, and to kind of take them from feeling like, man, I just can't cut a break, to, a lot of things about what I'm, the cards I was dealt, it's a really crappy hand, but I can still make the best out of what's available, and, kind of surprise themselves with what they can accomplish. Yeah.
Do you think most of the kids that come regularly, what brings them in more? The idea that they go and get to do some woodworking, or the fact that they get to just go somewhere where they feel safe and can have some, spend some time with other people and talk?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I won't, I don't know how to say this. Basically, for a lot of kids, it's about the money. We bring them in, they're like, oh, this is kind of neat. And we're like, you can make a lot of money here,
Yeah.
And so we kind of, bring them in with that hook, so to speak. Yeah. And then they stick around, that might get them in the door. But they stick around because of the staff. And I tell the team that too all the time. These kids are not going to remember in 10 years how cool the miter saw was or what type of bandsaw it was. They'll probably remember their projects, but what they're really going to remember is how great it was interacting with Billy or Happy or Matt or any of the team. And just those are that mentorship component is really important. And a lot of people, they kind of underestimate the importance of a caring adult. There's a saying somewhere that all it takes, and the research proves this, all it takes to transform a kid's life is one caring adult that's consistently in their life. And that is not a dig in any way on the parents or the other support network in the kid's life, but they're all struggling, many of them, with so many different things. So for us to be able to help out and kind of complement what they're able to provide by having that adult that's in their life constant is really neat. And one thing that I hadn't even considered that Billy shared the other day, we were talking as a team, what are our kids facing? How can we be better? How can we serve them better? Was that one of the neat things about what we do is that we can serve the same kid for 5 years straight. Because if you think about a teacher, even the best teacher in the world, they're only with them for 1 year. Yeah. Right. So we can have a kid that starts with us at 13 or even 7 if they're in outreach and we keep serving them. But let's just say it's 13, and for 5 straight years, they're going to say the same people day in, day out, the same smile, the same welcome, the same laugh, and so that's really neat to be able to do that. Yeah.
The hook about making money, I mean, that totally makes sense, and I'm sure that resonates. And I guess, one of the biggest things is like, hey, there's a way to make a living that, doesn't involve, nefarious or like legal behavior.
Yeah.
But also just to like also teach that, hey, money doesn't just come, like you've got to work for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, it's just such a cool model and an idea. Are there any other, like, are there other organizations like this around? Do you know?
Well, we're a little biased, but we have yet to find one just like us.
Right.
There are programs that do vocational work, but I think the combination of, especially lately, how comprehensive our support is for each individual, really focusing on depth rather than breadth, combined with the vocational skills, combined with entrepreneurship. I think that's a very rare combination. Sometimes, there are some programs that are entrepreneurial, some programs that are vocational, some that try to do the wraparound, but to combine all three is pretty unique. But that being said, I mean, there are programs around the country that, like if I hear of any, I reach out. There's a guy in Iowa who runs a program similar to ours, and he came out and visited us. I hope someday to visit him. Yeah. And we talk every month and share best practices.
Very cool.
So it's neat. There's definitely a unique component to what we do, and you're right. The business side of it is really cool and helps to teach the kids life lessons. I mean, even if they don't turn into a woodworker or do anything in the trades, they're still learning flexibility, how to take creative risks. One of the things we talk about is we want to encourage entrepreneurial spirit. So even if they don't become an entrepreneur, the lessons that make a successful entrepreneur are applicable regardless of what career you're getting into. Take creative risks, don't be afraid of failure, embrace mistakes and learn from them. Yep. Just all of that, it ties in really well. And then the financial literacy is cool too, because again, there are after school programs that offer financial literacy, but they're not giving them money. So we can say, like, exactly. Look, we know you just made $386. Yeah. Here's how to save. Here's how to manage it. We've done cool things like, I think one of them is called reality check. So the kids go around these tables. They get their check. It's like a fake check, but it's based on their grades. And they go around the table, and each table represents, do you want to rent or own? What kind of car do you want? How many kids do you want? And they start out all excited, and then at the end they've got like $4 left. And they're like, all right, I see. Like it's tougher than I thought, because the kids, kids now, some of them are supporting their families, but some of them, it's all disposable income. So we want them to kind of get used to the idea that you have to be disciplined with your money. It's just as much how not to lose it as it is how to make it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's important life lessons.
Yeah, and how to be smart with it and use it for the right things and prioritize. Yeah. It's fun. I don't know if it's because of my stage in life and others around me are getting older, but I've got a couple uncles and a couple friends who have they're like retired, semi-retired, and they all have build out woodworking shops. Yeah. It's like one of those things. It's like, I've always wanted to do, do something with my hands, but I did this career instead. And now I have my time to do something that I truly enjoy. Yeah. And it's interesting. I think that's also a cool aspect that, you can, your career and what you do with your life doesn't have to be only around making money as well.
Yeah, no, that's a huge point. And I think there's something really unique about, as bad as a woodworker as I am, I still find it really fulfilling. I mean, even just to use a stupid example, the other day I needed a doorstop. And I was like, I'll just make one, it's like one of the simplest things you could possibly do. But the feeling of I just fixed that, it's really rewarding. We had a kid, I think he's 17 or 18 now, 17. And when he was 14, he started with us. He was failing all his grades, failing every class, just had no ambition. He wasn't really driven. I don't think his self-esteem was very high either. And, he stuck with it, kept coming, which is half the battle. And eventually we got to the point where we mentioned we had this lamp project where he could learn how to turn a lamp on the lathe and then wire it and actually, build a lamp from scratch.
How cool.
And he did it. And we have it on video. When he flipped that switch, I mean, talk about metaphors, but he was just like, he actually said out loud, and this is as a 17-year-old, he was like, I did that. Just that level of pride is impossible to, put into words as much as I'm trying to. And the hands-on component, like you said, I think especially now when so much is screen driven, and I'm a big advocate for tech. I mean, I like tech, but there's a time and a place, and somehow we're able to keep our kids off their phones for 2 hours a day, which I think is borderline a miracle. And it's because you can't, when you've got a tool that's chopping something in one hand and a piece of wood in the other, you don't have enough hands. So it keeps them busy, it keeps them occupied. And again, to your point, I think that might be what's so appealing to so many people, is because, when you're sitting at a computer all day, you're making things happen, but it's all happening right there.
Exactly.
Versus you build something and it's built forever. It's just a special kind of accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, especially me, like my work is like you explained, I mean, generally speaking, it's, through the computer.
Yeah.
I like to do a lot of in-person business, at least. That's my tangible feel, right? Yeah. But yeah, a lot of the work we do is digital, and the output, is some type of project or report. But generally, the beauty of working with small businesses is you get more of that tangible feel, like you can see them like progress and be successful. But I mean, when I get like, I love going to, I think this morning I mowed the lawn for our office right out here, because it was like, like there's something about that gratification of like the tangible outcome of something, like even just as simple as mowing the lawn is like a good mental thing for me to be like, hey, I did that this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. It's huge. And actually, to circle back to that student I was mentioning who did the lamp. So he was failing everything. After he did that, it just clicked for him. No pun intended. He was like, I think I want to be an electrician. So now he's dual enrolled at Cape Fear. He's getting straight A's.
Amazing.
I mean, and so that's part of the challenge too, is that for so many of the kids, especially the kids that are, the more they push away from you, the more they're scared. It's so easy to take things personal when a kid cusses you out or says like, F you and whatever. But it's because they don't know what to do. They're feeling all kinds of things, lacking self-esteem, and so that kind of step where things can click and they can feel like they have an idea of what they're capable of is just really huge. So it was really cool to see that he turns his grades around. And what I was going to say too is that a lot of people would have looked at him in that situation as he's a slacker, he's not going anywhere, and he's smart. He just didn't have the right outlet. He didn't have the right connection. And nothing against the school system, but there can be a lot of just by the kind of by nature, because of the requirements. You're trying to serve a lot of kids, and so there isn't enough opportunity for variations in learning. Most everyone at Kids Making It is either a visual or kinesthetic hands-on learner. Mm-hmm. So if you are a hands-on learner and you're in school, if you don't get those opportunities, you're not gonna shine, but you're also not gonna feel capable, because it's like the saying, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, the fish is a failure. But it's you're just measuring it the wrong way. So we try to view it that way too. We're very strengths-based. When a kid comes in, they're not defined by whatever they've experienced, trauma, poverty, or whatever. They're defined by their talents, their skills, what they can do, what they're interested in, and that's if we can help them see that, that's really that's when things starts to click. Yeah.
What's the intake process like, and how does someone get into the Kids Making It program?
So it's mainly word of mouth. We actually don't advertise our after school program because we've had a waiting list of about 20 kids for years now, which is a good problem to have. Mm-hmm. And we're constantly looking for how to grow our capacity. But it's really word of mouth. That's the biggest way. Yep. We have kids that are practically ambassadors. They'll come in and be like, hey, these are 3 of my friends. I think they might be good here.
How cool.
And some of the kids they'll say like, oh, you got to come see my work. You know, and it's neat. There's a sense of pride that they have in what they're doing. We do get referrals from other partner agencies. It could be social services or another nonprofit partner. Mm-hmm. We also get referrals from juvenile justice. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing. You know, the violence, gangs too, people don't realize. I actually read the other day, in 2023, there was more juvenile gang activity in North Carolina than adult gang activity. Because the adults are, you know, putting the kids out on the corner. They're the ones saying, like, they can take the heat. You know, they're just totally taking advantage of the kids in many cases. And so, you know, that people don't realize that. There are 15,000 gang members in North Carolina, 550 gangs, plenty here. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we want to offer an alternative. You know, we're not looking to compete with the gangs. We don't want to become targeted in any way, but we want to offer an alternative. A lot of what the kids seek in the gangs is, you know, yes, of course, maybe the status or the new shoes or whatever, but really it's a sense of belonging. So if we can offer that sense of belonging without the kids having to, you know, keep their eye over their shoulders for the rest of their life, mission accomplished.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yep. So how does the schedule work? Do they come in whenever they want? Do they, you know, you have to report during certain times, or how does that work?
Yeah, it is a drop-in program. Okay. We, over the years, it's been very important to Jimmy, our founder, and the same is true of me and the rest of our team. We don't ever want to make attendance required because we want the kids to be with us because they want to be with us. Right. And that also gives us an opportunity to see if what we're doing works. If the kids stop showing up, let's go back to the drawing board. You know, what are we not doing? What are we doing wrong? So that's very important to us. But they can come when they start about once a week, and we just based on their interest level and our capacity will increase that. If a kid is what we consider to be very high risk, and that's not in a judgmental way, but for example, if a kid is being actively harassed or recruited by a gang, then we want them there 5 days a week, you know, as much as we can
much as possible.
See them. Yeah, because when they're with us, they're not out, you know, potentially getting in trouble. So it just varies on their need. And transportation is another key component that we're able to offer as part of our Foundations of Success. So we now have 2 vans, pick up from 9 schools. And the thing that I'm really excited that we're able to offer is that we drop the kids back home after our programs. That helps them stay off the street, literally. People don't realize, it's a half-mile walk, but what are they encountering on that half mile? I mean, we've had kids that have dropped out of high school. We tell them that graduating high school is a non-negotiable. If you're going to be a part of our program, you will graduate from high school. And that happens. We have a 100% success rate with high school graduation. But the transportation is key. And getting them to us and back home to their doorstep without getting harassed is key. And the reason I mentioned high school graduation is we've had a student, for example, who was going to high school. I think he was 16 at the time. Every day he went to high school, 2 rival gangs threatened to kill him if he didn't join their gang. So we said, drop out. We'll help you get your GED. So it doesn't have to be through the traditional high school approach.
Got it.
But high school graduation is key, and that transportation really helps a lot.
Yeah, I mean, what an interesting situation to have where it's like, actually, you should drop out because it's for the well-being and there's other ways to do things. I never thought I'd be encouraging kids to drop out of high school. Yeah. Holy smokes. How do you guys get, it's a nonprofit organization. Mm-hmm. How do you guys get your funding? Do you have grants, private donations, the endowment? Like, what are some of the avenues?
It's a variety of sources. We're very lucky to have the support that we do. It varies from individual donors who are contributing financially to in-kind donations. We actually just had a donation today of a bunch of wood. A guy was on the way to the landfill, and he's like, "Hey, you guys want any of this?" And we took a bunch of it off his hands. So in-kind donations are a big part of what we do. So our budget's $1.1 million right now annually, and we only spend about $8,000 or $9,000 a year on lumber because we get so much donated. So it's, we want to keep that going. But individuals, we have lots of support from foundations, which is huge. The endowment has been a support of ours. I just submitted a major multi-year letter of intent to them. So fingers crossed, we'll see how that goes. And we have support from Landfall Foundation, Eshelman Foundation, Kiefer Memorial Foundation, and many others. And so it's, as they say, it takes a village, and we have a lot of supporters that help make what we do possible. And thankfully, they see, in many ways, what we do is unique, and it's different. A lot of especially like it even took some adjustment for me to write grants where for the first time I wasn't saying we're going to serve 10% more, and instead I was saying we're going to serve 20% better. That kind of shift. I like that. And I think that's been helpful, and really reassuring to see that our funders support that, and that they kind of, in a sense, they trust us. That's one of the things I say when I thank a donor is not just thanks, but thanks for trusting us. You could choose so many different causes. If you're giving to us, you're trusting that we're going to be a good steward of your support, and we do our utmost to do that. So a lot of support. Unfortunately, we've seen, as many others have, government support has really, really cut back. In the next year, we've lost, out of that 1.1 million, 160,000 in funds that we anticipated we were going to get.
Yeah, that's more than 10%. Yeah. I mean, that's a big chunk.
Yeah, so we in some ways saw the writing on the wall. We had already started to try to pivot to garnering and gaining corporate and business support as much as we can.
Yep.
We're lucky that we're able to generate our own revenue. So one of our programs is our apprentice program, where we do custom orders, these name tags, all different kinds of awards, and that's now actually close to 8 or 9% of our budget. And so losing 10%, we still need to gain a lot more.
Yeah.
That's only part of it, but we're going to ramp that up. We've got our wood shop on wheels, which we're very excited about. So that's a 24-foot mobile wood shop. Of course, we're going to use it primarily to serve kids. We're going out to public housing sites every week right now for the summer. And it's really awesome to bring the wood shop to the kids, because if transportation is the challenge, you have two options: bring them to you or bring the shop to them.
Right, exactly.
So this is a really cool way to do that. But the other way that I'm very excited about, and if anybody's listening to this and wants to do it, if any major business or corporation wants to have us come out on site, we can do an on-site woodworking workshop. No skills required. We've got 6 10x10 tents. I mean, we can make it like a block party, a pop-up block party.
How cool! It'd be a good like team building.
Yeah, yeah, and it helps us. It's a paid thing. It would help us raise money.
Yep.
So we've got a couple creative ways we're looking to grow what we do, but what's clear to us is it's going to encourage us to be as innovative as possible, and luckily that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell the team, no crazy idea, no stupid idea.
Yeah.
Try everything.
Well, it's lead by example of, you're teaching kids entrepreneurship and problem solving and all that. It's like, well, we've got our own problems to solve, and let's be creative. I love the fact that you guys can generate your own revenue.
Yeah.
I think that's probably pretty attractive for people that are donating, and it's like, hey, like they're doing part of this as well. Like it's not, they're not solely relying on, donations and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And to use a really concrete example, especially with the business community, I have a personal interest in business, having majored in it. Never thought I'd get into nonprofits, but that's appealing to me. And so I love the idea that, for example, we got a second commercial industrial engraver. It's huge. I think it has a 4-foot by 3-foot engraving space. So it can engrave very large items. But that costs us used $36,000. That's a lot of money. That's a big investment. But I did the math, and it'll generate at least $1.5 to $2 million over 10 years. So I mean, it's
a nice
no-brainer. Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
That is a no-brainer.
Yeah, and the idea that we can do that for ourselves is really huge too. So it's whether it's buying something and saving money like that, or reducing costs. Like we're looking at solar panels, because the math there is a no-brainer too. We would save hundreds of thousands over probably 20 years.
Yep.
So it's all about, like you said, problem solving and innovative solutions. Yeah.
So as we kind of get towards the end here, the last question is, what does Kids Making It look like 10 years from now?
Well, to be honest, we have some ideas that are so big that I am holding them close to my chest.
Fair enough.
But not for long. And one of the biggest ways we are looking to grow, one is expanding the wood shop on wheels. So obviously we have one. I think we could have a fleet of them. I don't see any reason we wouldn't. The issue actually is parking. You know, we're right on 7th and Castle. There's no space for multiple.
Right.
There's barely enough space for the one. So growing that, I think, is a big one, because we can not only serve kids through Woodshop on Wheels, but we can have, and we've done this with the one we use now, kind of using it for multiple purposes. It's very modular, so we can switch it out for whatever purpose we're using. We can go out. We had 2 of our teens go out and build a raised bed garden on site at a senior apartment living home, and you know, they're learning that trade skill. They're building on site, so we could have one Woodshop on Wheels that's dedicated solely to on-site construction and renovation. We've also talked about having a handyman service where our teens are going around. I mean, there's a threshold where the handymen and women in the area, they're not going to work below a certain level. It's not worth their time.
Right.
That's all available.
Yep.
You know, that's where our teens can come in, learn super valuable skills, get customer experience, learn how to look people in the eye, shake their hands, all that stuff that's so hard for them to get in the phone world that they're living in. And then the other thing, and I'll make this really brief, is that we want to have a dramatic expansion of an apprentice facility. So that'll allow us to dramatically ramp up our capacity for generating our own revenue, and at the same time give teens in particular stepping stone employment opportunities. But not only to get through our program and then on to whatever's next, potentially to get through our program and stay with us, and you know, go from working at kind of the base of the ladder, so to speak, earning a competitive pay because there are high expectations, and then become, you know, the boss of other teens, and they can be the person that the teens look up to, and then we can hire them full time. And I mean, we have big plans. The plan for that is tentatively 20,000 square feet, but we have an even bigger version of that we're exploring right now. So just have to leave it at that.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll look forward to following up with you at some point to hear the big grand vision. But thank you so much for coming on. And I mean, this really is the highlight of what I get to do on a daily basis, is to speak with folks like yourself that are making a positive impact in the community. And I'm glad to be able to sit down with you and talk. So thank you very much, Kevin.
Yeah, and thanks for doing this and for doing it for. It's just amazing that you're able to bring together all the people throughout the community from various different backgrounds. I mentioned before we started filming that Steve was here. He's a great guy, Nourish NC, and so really thank you, because you're helping to give a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds a platform. It's great. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.